Hi, everybody. I'm Tanya Marie Dubé, and welcome to today's episode of The Empowered Woman. I'm so glad that you're here today. I have the honor of introducing today's guest, Felicia Searcy. She is an award-winning transformational coach. She's a minister, she's a published author, and she's a motivational speaker. And as always, I would love for you to stick around to the end because Felicia has an awesome gift for you, and we both want to make sure that you know how to use it so that you can live your most empowered life. So welcome, Felicia. How are you today?
Yay, I'm great. It's such an honor to be here, Tanya. Thank you for allowing me to serve in this way.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to see you. I wanted to just get started by, why don't you please tell us who you serve and what brought you to the work that you do today?
Well, let me answer that second question first.
Okay.
So what brought me here? My story is relatively similar to yours. Came from a family of very unskilled people that it manifested in the form of mental illness and addiction. There was on a human level, there was a terrific amount of darkness. And what I realized when I began to discover ways to come out of it, was that we are not meant to live that life. And so few people really understand this power that we wield. And I'm really grateful because of the depth of the darkness, the violence, the abuse, the unpredictability, caused me to take on, and let me relanguage that. In my unaware state, I allowed myself to take on an identity that was not a match for who I really am and for what I wanted to create. And it pushed me to a depth of despair that I was really grateful when I look back that I was willing in a moment to be aware of it and make that life transforming decision that at some point we all make to do something different. And so I began to look around for, there's got to be a different way of doing this. And that's when I discovered these invisible laws that are always governing our results. And there, I became aware I grew in this awareness of this infinite force for love that was always with me, even during those times that I may not have been aware of it, which has caused me, as I've learned to apply laws intentionally and deepen my awareness and my companionship and my communion with this source for love, has unlocked and unleashed this remarkable, unlimited power in me. And I got to have a telescope to see where I was before. And here's what I love about this. And this, Tanya, you've discovered this. I mean, your life, it bears witness to this. What I love is that it doesn't matter where you come from, whether it's really hard, again, on a human level, facts and situations and circumstances like you and I experience, or that you came from a good background. There's a pattern, there's a system for more. And when I look at my life, the most wonderful thing that I love about my life is that I'm not an exception. That when people understand that there is a system for success, anybody can apply it and anybody can create that life that several times a day they think about, oh my God, I love my life. And that is the way that we are supposed to live.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
I love that you did take the time to reword that, because that was the same thing for me. I think that when you go through an unbelievable, for some of the people who are watching this, they may, for the first time or seeing me for the first time, they may not know that, I've gone through crazy stuff that you're referring to. We had a conversation. I grew up in foster homes. I was a street kid for 6 years, between 12 years old and 18 years old. I mean, when you go through that kind of difficulty or those kinds of challenges, they don't even have to be that deep. But anything that changes and alters your life or your path in some way when you're little or, just struggling to find your way, you do create this alter ego way of being just to survive it all. Right. And the fact that you were able to figure that out, that you were not living, your most authentic life or congruous life. Right. I love that. I love it.
Yeah, and the great thing is that it's not just for people, like you said, who've come through a really hard time. The system is available.
Mm-hmm.
The system is calling all of us, because at whatever level of success, because am so grateful through the process, have generated a terrific level of success. And guess what? I'm not done.
Mm-hmm.
Life is continuing to call me into more. So who do I serve? I serve people who look at their lives and say, here, well done, that we've done a good job, that we've overcome, that, people have overcome. And yet there's a longing for more, because they know there's more for them to contribute. They have even more to give.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that it is the way that life grows us into even greater versions of ourselves.
I love that. I'm really fascinated by you and what you do.
My sense is that you're fascinated by everybody. I mean, thank you. And you have such a wonderful natural interest and curiosity in people, which just, no matter who's sitting here, you honor them with your deep, authentic interest.
Thank you. I do have a crazy curiosity. And growing up, one of my foster mothers used to say, "Do you ever stop talking?" In a sweet way, but it's true. I would be asking infinite questions about life and the universe and religion and God, and so I am a very curious person, but you are a very, very fascinating person. I really do enjoy talking to you. So my next question to you was, now you became a minister, so on some level you knew that you were put on this earth to serve people. So how did you know that like, how did you get to that answer?
Well, so for whatever the reason, I knew that early on. So when I look at my professional life, my whole professional life has been dedicated. There's a theme throughout my career, which is supporting people in bringing out their best, because I spent 19 years teaching. I taught in the public school system. And I taught I was adjunct faculty at Middle Tennessee State University in the education department.
Okay. Wow.
And so, at 12, I organized a muscular dystrophy carnival. You're probably too young to remember those, Jerry Lewis, that you'd get this little pack and you'd organize carnivals in your neighborhood to raise money for muscular dystrophy. I actually
remember Jerry Lewis doing something like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so there was a couple years in a row where I organized a muscular dystrophy, 10, 11, 12, 13, whatever probably not 13. But so as it is in all of us, there's that stream to want to contribute for whatever the reason. And I'm deeply grateful. I've been aware of it at a very early age. And then when I began to discover this, I realized that I really wanted to be a part of something that would help people unlock and consciously use the most potent energy on the entire universe, which is our capacity to intentionally create. So for 15 years, I pioneered and served as a senior minister in a spiritual community where this was the foundation. And I watched people come in, get inspired, and there was that missing link. And it was the same thing for me, that there was the missing link of knowing how to take it and apply it at a level of rigorous discipline that's really required to make those transformative changes. And so when I discovered the power of really working with a highly calibrated mentor and understanding what it was to have a laser focused structure to really take what I was teaching on a more universal general level and bring it into a laser focus, I said, oh my God, that's what I want to do, because that's what will propel people forward. Wow. And so that's how I ended up in what I'm doing now.
That's fantastic. And now, so tell me, does spirituality still play a really big part in your life? And how do you?
Oh my God, I ooze it.
And how do you use it in your work? Yeah, I would love for you to tell me.
It's so funny. It's like asking a fish, how do you swim in this water?
Well, funny enough, I have met people who have a religious background, and because of one reason or another may have had a bad experience. They kind of like leave that at the door and move on in their life. But I happen to know that you use your spirituality in your work, so I would love to talk about that.
Yeah, well, understanding, first of all, that there's a difference between religion and spirituality, and all religions serve to the degree that people are able to engage in it in a very life-giving and empowering way. And of course, there's the side, and it has to do with how you engage with it, where it maybe not so much. For me, it's understanding that there is this infinite intelligence, this indescribable, undefinable force for life that breathed me into existence. I'm not here because of me. I didn't put myself here. I didn't wake myself up. I can't even take one breath on my own. And then think about this, Tanya. There was something so profound that this indescribable force for love. And when you think about love is replicable. Love expands. Love must create. And so love, if we look at one ancient text that has a story of how, we were created, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a myth, but an allegory.
Okay.
Of the Genesis story where, let there be, and it says, and God, the universe, love, whatever you want to call it, looked upon the void. There was something missing in this creation. Of course, there's not anything missing, but that power looked upon the void and said, let there be. And let there be you. Let there be me. Let there be every viewer that's watching. And this energy, and I know I'm like personifying it, but when it comes to describing it, we become limited with words, poured itself into creating something so magnificent as each one of us. I mean, the body alone is evidence of how loved and cherished and supported we are. We can't replicate this. We keep trying, but we can't replicate this. Now, imagine a power that devoted itself to creating something so magnificent as us, and then saying, go, have a mediocre life. It doesn't, right? Yeah. It doesn't make sense. And then let's take it a step further. Have you ever stopped and pondered why we were given this imagination, this imaginative faculty? People talk about mindset, the importance of mindset. Have you ever stopped and asked, what created me to even give me the ability to create a mindset? Yeah. And what then is the consequence of that mindset? That we are the only species on the planet that has the capacity to consciously choose the images that we mentally rehearse in this faculty called our imagination, which creates our mindset. Then we were given the ability to have those thoughts, those images have a signal, which then are impressed into this invisible field of life, of love. I call it the invisible cookie dough because there are waves of energy, unformed energy, hanging out, waiting for us to direct them to put that into motion. Right. Something had to put that into motion, and something had to deem us so worthy without a single thing that we had to do to earn or deserve it, to give us this creative, to give us this life, and then to give us this creative capacity.
I talk about this with my kids all the time. I mean, I love the way you put it, the whole thing together. I absolutely love the way you just described that. But this is a conversation I have with my kids all the time because it took me my entire life to get to the point where I realized I actually do have a soul's calling. Right?
Exactly.
A lot of my work is based on soul's calling, and trying to figure that out. I mean, I don't want my kids to spend a whole life of not understanding this and then happen upon it by accident, right? Like I want them to live an intentional life.
Yeah, and think about it. How many people, Bob Proctor, who I've studied with personally, says he has this crazy statistic that, and he added a percentage point. It used to be 3, but now he's saying 4. 4% population understand this. That so most people will live and die without even understanding the power that we wield. And you know, it's when we discover it, we have an accountability to it. Mm-hmm. There's a stewardship that, because it's not just about us, but now we're bearing witness to what's possible for everybody. And in my mind, that's true spirituality. It's understanding it's not me. Right. That there is an indescribable force that woke up. You know, the sun got in my eyes. My dog might have licked my face. I don't know when in the land of facts woke me up. Yeah. But what woke me up was this power that is breathing me. And to think that it's just me.
I know.
That's fine. But my God, right? Why, when there's so much more support and guidance and life and ways that we can't even begin to imagine are available to us. You
know how I was describing this to my daughter? So I have a 12-year-old daughter, and she's very, very interested in God and why we're here. Like I've opened this door for her, so she always has questions. And I always say to her, can you imagine your entire existence then? And she's not a big video game player, but like a video game. And she does have this one where, you know, the goal is always the same in a video game. You start out, you're collecting tools, you have to get over obstacles, there's an end, you know, place that you're supposed to go. And I explained it to her, and I said, if you could look at your life in this way, like it's a video game, you're going to collect things. There are going to be times where you're low on energy. There's going to be times where you have to climb over the wall. No matter what happens to you in this game, you still have to get to the end destination. So this is how I want her to look at, you know, difficult people or trials that she has to go through, or, you know, the obstacles of life and love, you know, and happiness and the pursuit of it. And, you know, all of this stuff. I just wanted to make it as simple for her as possible.
Yeah. And the only thing I would add to that, and you talked about, you know, how do people discover their purpose? And God, I just watched videos. What's my purpose? What's my purpose?
And it's crazy.
Yeah. As if it's some you know, mythical, magical secret. Learning how to ask the most powerful, holiest, reverent of all questions that we can learn how to ask is how you discover your purpose. And do you want to know what the question is?
Yes, tell me.
And the question is, what would I love? What would I love? Because it is love itself seeking to express and expand by means of the answer to that question through us. And it is the way that life grows us. It's really that simple and that difficult, because that is the most difficult question that people can really learn to ask. Because you got to get down beyond all the layers of your history, the opinions of others, the way you see yourself, what you believe is possible for yourself, your current facts and conditions. But when you're talking about helping people find their purpose, it's really not that complicated. It really is just simply learning to live from that most profound question and paying attention to this life force that is always streaming through us in the form of expansiveness. That when you think about something, are you expansive or are you contract? That's your life force inviting you into a much greater version of you and your life. And that's when we are living from that place of, oh my God, I love my life. It's the highest contribution that we can bring to
it. It is the highest contribution. I really do believe that.
Yeah.
Another thing that I teach too, when people are talking about fears and how to get over fears and what other people are going to think about you in the pursuit of your life's calling. Did you want to say something?
Are you going to edit this at all?
No.
I'm sorry.
What's happening?
My dog.
Okay,
Yeah, well,
okay, we're back.
So I know that we were interrupted, but this is life, right?
This is life. This is really what does happen.
Let my dog out.
So. Yeah. No, that's totally fine. Okay, so what I was saying, I don't want to forget the thought, was one of the things that I teach when people have fears about trying to find their way into, you know, a new life or their new possibility, it seems scary, or what will other people think, is I really bring it down to ego. And I don't know what you have to say about ego, but for me, I feel like our belief system set up our ego to make us right about ourselves. So if we can figure out what it is that we think is the big challenge, or why we believe the things that we believe, we start to break that down in a way that if we believe we can do anything, we really can, and your ego will serve its purpose in trying to make you right about that. The same thing with believing that you can't. Your ego will find a way to make that real.
Oh, this is
Right?
great. Yes. So, and it's built into the design, right? So first thing that I suggest, and that I help people understand, that when you feel fear, that's the good news.
Yeah.
It's good news, because the only time we really feel fear is when, when there are facts and conditions that are not to our preference, and we're allowing ourselves to terrorize ourselves through the misuse of our imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're dreaming about something and fear comes up, you want to say, yay, because I'm bumping up against the edge of the reality I've known. Yeah. See, it's our dream is the process by which life grows us into a greater version of ourselves. Who we are today is not a match for what we're thinking. If it is expansive enough that when we think about it, there's a part of us that's excited and scared to death all at the same time. Mm-hmm. You want that. You want that, oh my God, can I really do this? Because that's the point at which you learn to access and discover and develop awarenesses and skills and capabilities and a communion and companionship with this field of intelligence that you don't need at your current life. So it's understanding that there's the life force that's always ever calling us forward. And then there is this gravitational pull back to the familiar. That's our paradigm. That's our habit. That's our current self-identity. Mm-hmm. So the minute you start thinking of something more expansive, everything unlike who you are and who you're becoming and where you're going and what you're creating must rise up for release and repattering.
Yes.
And it wouldn't matter what it is, because I watch people just get so mesmerized by whatever it is. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Something's going to pop up. Yeah. And when we're able to understand that, then we neutralize it. And rather than digging for, okay, here are my beliefs and let me break it down, the thing that I support people with, let's just replace it. Let's think about something that's a whole lot more fun and actually more productive. Yeah. And so when you work with when you learn how to really create a very clear vision, and when you think about that vision, every aspect of yourself lights up with, oh my God, I love this. And you start recognizing that the person living that dream has developed awarenesses and capabilities different than what you know today, and has grown into a person different than who you are today. And you begin to build a relationship with that person, and you build an identity with that person. We will never outperform the way we see ourselves. We will never outperform the way we see ourselves. So rather than digging for beliefs, believe me, they will make themselves known. That when you really make a decision for, this is what I love and I'm going for it, all those misbeliefs are going to jump up in technicolor. Mm. But as you learn how to use your imagination to keep that vision center stream, it becomes the loudest voice in your head. It becomes the strongest vision in your head. And you zip yourself into the skin of the man or the woman that created that result. And you allow that new identity to guide you. And this is the rigor, Tanya, because that gravitational pull, who we are today, we know how to do this really well. You know how to do Tanya. February 1st, 2018, really well. You know how to do this well. You don't know how to do 3 years from now.
Yes.
And so it's the process of growing into that person and allowing that person 3 years from now, today, to support you, because that she exists. Mm-hmm. So it's, as you're working with the beliefs, it's like, what does that woman believe? Well, I don't know today that caused me to be able to take this bold, scary step as the woman that created these results.
Oh my gosh. It's really funny that you're saying this. I have this thing that I used to do when things got really scary and I didn't have a mother to talk to or a father to talk to about this stuff. One of the things that I did was imagine myself sitting down with my 90-year-old self You know, my
Yes.
90-year-old self, and what would she say about this particular experience that I'm going through? And what would she say about the rest of my life and what's coming? Like, not to, and the reason that I would do this is because I would find when I did do this work that every single time she would say, this is not the worst thing you'll ever go through, but it's not, like, there's going to be a whole road of amazing, fun things. This is one more tool in your tool belt, right? So look at it as an experience and not a failure, or look at it as an experience and not, you know, the end of the world, or, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Exactly. So, you know, so now it's learning how to build a practice of speaking with your future self. And so you were an unconscious competent. That you knew some things without anybody like physically telling you. And now it's dialing up those things that you already know.
Oh, I love it. And it's important to remember what you were saying. I love what you're saying, because if we look back at our 20-year-old selves, you know, we wouldn't even begin to be able to imagine who we are as ourselves now because of the transformation that happens in your 20s, right? So I think that it's just really important to remember that it's possible. Your future self is waiting for you.
It's all possibilities coexist simultaneously, which means there's an infinite number of future selves. The only way that we tap into the one that is a match for what we want to create is to begin to build a relationship with that future self. Otherwise, we keep thinking the same thoughts and keep identifying with the same person that created these current results. The only thing we can do is continue the projection, the trajectory of this current person.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
All possibilities coexist simultaneously.
I mean, think about this. Yeah, think about this, Tanya. 300 years ago, if we wanted to get, I'm in Los Angeles. Well, I'm in Thousand Oaks, but I'm in the Los Angeles area. If I wanted to get from Los Angeles to New York 300 years ago, I either walked or took a horse, right?
Yep.
Every step along the way, we had the capacity to get on an airplane. It was there. It was there. We just couldn't identify as people who flew. So the means to bring it into the facts of our lives, our awareness was not was not matching up with that awareness, that frequency, right? I mean, they're hanging out, everything's energy. It's all hanging out at different frequencies. Yeah. So the ability to do it was not in our field of awareness because we wouldn't allow ourselves to imagine it or identify with it. So it lay dormant. That possibility just hung out until somebody had the courage to say, hey, I wonder if we could fly. Long enough and sustained enough and committed enough to keep working with the ideas and taking the bold actions. Can you imagine? I think it was Orville Wright, the first one who physically got on that airplane and lifted off the ground. Nobody had ever done it.
The bravery.
Oh my God, the boldness to get on that thing. And here's the other thing that fascinates me about that. Do you know how long that flight lasted? 13 seconds.
Oh.
13 seconds. Now it's in
New York. How high he made it up?
Not very high, but I want to say it was somewhere between 13 and 33 seconds, but it was below a minute. That sprout fundamentally transformed the trajectory of our planet. We could never go back. Now, think about this. How many times do people have, let's say a 33-second moment? Say, I don't want a 33-second moment. I want to be scaling the stars. And how often we dismiss that 33-second moment, not realizing that that's the moment that now is shifting the trajectory, as long as we're willing to keep fanning it and pouring energy and trusting that it's moving us in the direction that we want to go in. That possibility, all those possibilities coexist, but it's up to us to make a decision for it and keep our focus and our attention and our action on that possibility.
I love that. I love that. See, this is why our conversation the other day rocked my world. I love talking to you. Okay.
Yeah, but it's the rigor. It's the rigor, because your facts haven't changed. Right. The people around you are still seeing you the same way. Yeah. Everything in your world, in the three-dimensional world, which by the way is just simply an echo of our highest level of awareness up to that moment, it is not giving you permission to live at this level. So here's where the rigor is. You have to believe more in the images and more in the power that is breathing you than you do in the world of facts. And that, for 96% of the population, is so counterintuitive to the point that they just can't bring themselves to do it. They keep trusting what the facts say rather than believing in the power of the images.
This takes me to what I was always raised to believe, which is you have to see it to believe it. And that's not true. You have to believe it to see it.
Well, you see it here first.
Oh my goodness. And you have to believe what it is that you're seeing in order
here.
to have it.
And you have to have the courage to see something that is completely counterintuitive to what your current facts and conditions tell you.
Right. That's powerful stuff.
I told you, it is the most potent energy in the entire universe. There is nothing more powerful than this.
Yeah.
And I'll hear people say, "Oh, I believe that." And it's like, you know what, on a conceptual level, because if we really got this, imagine how reverently we would treat this.
Right.
And we would stand, Emerson said, stand guard at the portal of your mind.
Wow.
Stand guard at the portal of your mind.
I really like that a lot. I want to get into, I have some questions that I've prepared for every single expert that comes on the show.
Okay.
I want to know your thoughts and your ideas. So I have 8 questions that I've prepared for you. And if it's okay with you, we'll get started into those questions.
Absolutely. And we're going to laser it in 15 minutes.
Is that our time frame, 15 minutes? Okay. So we can go a little bit over if we have to.
Okay.
Okay. So my first question is, what inspires you?
People who've overcome. People who've overcome and are now, it's the hero's journey, and are now sharing it, and their life is evidence of it. It's one thing, a lot of people study this stuff and they're able to articulate it, but the transmission of the energy is not there because they have not owned it at a cellular level where they are consistently demonstrating it, bearing witness to it in the results of their life. So what inspires me are people who, and you don't even have to overcome, but just the ongoing demonstration of these laws activated in their lives, and that they understand it.
Wow. Okay. I love that answer. People who inspire you. That's beautiful. In your opinion, how do we live an awakened life?
Well, go back and listen to the interview because I just basically described that, right? We live an awakened life, first of all, by understanding that we have this amazing power, this indescribable power, and by staying committed to learning to live from the most potent question, what would I love? And always being willing to stay on that green growing edge of our becoming.
And what about for people who are just finding their way into this thought pattern? How would they start to live an awakened life? Like, what would they begin with?
So it's not any different. The process is the process.
Still just asking yourself that question.
Yeah. And really begin to realize, begin to ponder the power that we wield. And if I really could create anything that I would love, what would it be? Yeah. What would that life be? And give themselves lots of room and latitude and support. And being able to really ask that question.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so in your experience, what can we learn when we fall down?
Well, so first of all, understanding that failure is part of the process. That as you're reaching for something that you don't know how to do, by the very nature of that, it's not even a failure. Think about this. If you've ever been, you've got 2 kids. Did your kids immediately just get up on their feet and become walkers?
No.
We learned to walk by falling down. We felt the balance, we built those muscles, and boom, and then we got back up. And we had the desire to walk was stronger than the fear of falling. Yeah. I've never seen a toddler, up and down, and just sit down and say, that's it, fold their arms and say, that's it. I'm just not meant to be a walker.
That's so funny. Yes.
Yeah. Now I didn't come up with that. My mentor, Mary Morrissey, said that, but it's Thomas Edison, he had a beautiful attitude. When somebody said, how did you withstand 10,000 failures? He said, I didn't. It was all feedback. So it's this is why you want something that you are so on fire with that you couldn't imagine life without it, that you're willing to be in those awkward places of your learning curve because you are so committed to it that you're willing to be uncomfortable for the sake of creating that, for the sake of your own growth.
Yes, you have to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That's it. And you won't do it for something that you're lukewarm around.
Yeah.
You won't do it.
This, I have to say, so I'm sure you've had levels of this in your own life, but starting the show for me was one of those things. It was a little scary. It was a little frightening.
Oh my God, every stage along the way.
Right? Every stage along the way. Now I absolutely love to do it.
And now there's a next stage. And that's the process of our evolution. Again, then when the fear comes up, that's the good news.
Yes. Oh gosh, I love that so much. Right? You have to learn to use the fear in whatever it is that you're doing. I love that. I absolutely, when I read Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers, it's that was like a Bible for me. Even though it's hard to do sometimes, but it's good to follow. Okay, so my next question for you is, how do you find the strength and the spirit to get back up again once you've fallen and it hurts?
So it goes back to what I said earlier, that when you allow yourself to stay in the power of that question of what would I love, and create a vision that when you think about it, every cell of your being just lights up. And you've made a decision, a stake in the ground decision, no matter what, I'm doing this, then you come to understand that when those, quote, fall downs happen, that it's like, all right, this is part of the process. This is what it looks like. It's all coming together.
Yeah.
And I do not do it alone. That I will never have a dream that I can do on my own. I want something that's way beyond my own personal ability to do it, and that I will always have some level of support, and for me, a highly calibrated mentor with me every step along the way, supporting me, believing in me, and blazing the trail.
Wow. How did you find your mentor?
I realized that I wanted help. I got real clear about who I wanted it with, and I began to look around, and it just one of those things that we ended up in a conversation. She made an offer to me. I said, oh my God, people really do that, in terms of the level of investment, because now I don't blink an eye, because I know the power of it, that I'll invest upwards of $100,000 annually in myself, in my awareness. It's my awareness, because I know there's nothing more valuable than developing my capacity to create it well, so I can prove it in my own life and serve others.
Wow. I love that. Oh gosh, I love that so much. See, I found myself at the exact same helm. Like I found myself at this threshold where I was like, that something's got to shift. There's only so much that I can do by myself. Really. I mean,
and that's built into the design. I mean,
and you don't know what you don't know. So
that's it. That's it. And that's like, an athlete. If you think of Tom Brady, he's getting ready to play in the Super Bowl. He's at the top of his game. He's not looking at his mentors and his coaches and saying, hey, I got this.
Yeah.
I mean, he wouldn't think of doing that. He's continuing to be supported. So just to let you know, I have a hard stop in 10 minutes.
Oh, you do? Okay. So let's get quickly. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so the next question for me is, what is the most difficult decision you've had to make in pursuing your destiny?
Okay. So when I made a decision that this was the field, this was the path in this particular format that I wanted to go into, and I went through this whole thing, do I leave what I was doing before, which was ministering? I thought that was the major decision. It's like, ta-da, I did it. I'm doing this.
Yeah.
It was 3 weeks after that my husband, who was actually the really the financial base, got critically ill. I mean, critically ill, where he was no longer able to run our business. It got to the point where there was insurance. We're in the U.S. that there was, because of the diagnosis, the insurance for that year ran out. So I really seriously considered going back to the school system in order to make sure that he would have, quote, benefits, right? Mm-hmm. I'll never forget, he was in the hospital, and I am curled up in my bed at one of those 3:00 in the morning moments where terror was just shooting through my system. I had, I have like 150 pounds worth of 2 dogs curled up on either side of me, and my cat on my chest. Mm. with that question banging around in my head, how do I keep my husband alive? And the thought was, go back to the school system. It's a logical thought, right? And most people say, yeah, just put the dream on hold and go back to the school system. Yeah. But because I've been working with these laws in a much more profound way, and I was in a structure support that was deepening my my practical understanding, I allowed a different question to drop in. And the quality of the question determines the quality of the answer. Yes. And the question was, what if really going for it was actually the answer to Michael's illness? Now, I didn't have a shred of evidence in front of me. In fact, it felt really irresponsible. Nevertheless, I was building a belief in the power of my vision. I felt the arms of the structure and my mentor around me, and I was building a belief in the system that I was learning. And when I thought about it, when I got past the fear, I felt expansive in the presence of that answer. So I made the decision to go forward. Now, I didn't just put it out to the universe. I got busy taking massive imperfect action because there was a ton riding on it. And my first year, as a result of that decision and really pouring energy into this business, and by the way, I was taking care of him and I was running this other business, doing it all at the same time. We still had a brick and mortar that he wasn't able to really attend to, that I had to keep going and advocate for him medically and pour energy into building this business. Wow. Even with that, I came close to quadrupling what my income was before. And in a very short amount of time, I grew my impact of being able to impact thousands of people. And my income has grown over 1,000%. Wow. And we live in Southern California, and my husband's here, alive and well.
Wow, and that was my next question. How is he?
He's great. And he was able to, and the other thing that we were able to do is that he retired 7 years early.
Wow.
Yeah, he retired 7 years
like
early.
A virtual high five.
Yeah, and here's when I know, Tanya, if I would have collapsed back to the land of conditions, back to what I knew, he would not be here. I know that with every fiber of my being, he would not be here. Now, I didn't make that decision once. I had to stay in support to keep faithful to that decision.
Wow, that's a very good answer to that question. Okay, really quickly, I know we got to wrap this up in a minute. What is the purpose in your mind of the human experience? I think we've already gone over some of this stuff.
We loved and cherished, and how we are meant to live these rich, abundant, fulfilled lives, because that is how we bring our greatest contribution to the body of humanity. It's not hard, it's not complicated, but just to discover who we really are and what life is meant to be. And as we do that, we're contributing.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And lastly, I want to know, what are your thoughts on the purpose of forgiveness?
Well, forgiveness is such a key piece of it. I mean, anytime I work with anybody, it's just woven throughout all of it. It's understanding that we are in this human experience, and that that we have all been influenced by people at whatever level of awareness that they are, and that we make the decision about how we're going to interpret a particular situation or a behavior, and that when we understand that people truly are doing the best they can, and we understand that we bring our highest level of awareness, which is not what we think we know, but what we embody because we're physically doing it. If we really knew better, we would do better. Just because you can say it doesn't mean that you really know it. And that's what this whole process is, of waking up to who we really are. Then we're really able to let other people off the hook, because we're not at the mercy of what they do or what they're saying about us in terms of taking on the way that they see us. We realize that we really do have dominion. And the more we're able to own that, the more we're able to truly create a field of compassion and acceptance of who other people are and what they're able to bring or not bring. You know, we stop going to the hardware store for a loaf of bread, and we surround ourselves with people understanding that in the human experience, we're all fallible, and truly doing the absolute best that we can. And that's a process to really be able to come to that place of awareness.
Wow.
Otherwise, you know, if you're jailing somebody through resentment, somebody's got to stand at the door.
Yeah. Yes. Wow. Gosh, there's so many tweetables in this conversation. It's a very good quote. Now, before we wrap it up, I wanted to talk about your free gift and how people can find it and how they can use it.
All right. So get your computers or your phones and go to www.felicia.live, Felicia.live. And there's two things that you will, my joy to provide you. Number one, as I've talked about, that question, what would I love, is the most challenging, difficult question that we can ask. So I walk you through a meditation to help get you down beyond all the layers of the voices that will keep you from really hearing the answer to that question. So my gift is Discover Your Purpose, Discover Your Dream meditation. Then I am deeply committed to helping people unlock their power, their potential, and put it in service to a life that they love. So every week on my business page, I do a free training where I break down the application of these laws. And so when you go to Felicia.live, you'll have the option to opt in for a list of where you'll get notified when I'm going live, and you'll receive the meditation.
That's fantastic. That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here today. This was
Tanya,
amazing.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate it. And just,
thank you.
You know, here's what I want everybody to know as we wrap this up. Imagine a world, truly, where every man, woman, and child was living from that state of, oh my God, what would I love? Mm-hmm. That, my friends, is how we create the kingdom of heaven here on earth.
Love that. Thank you so much. It was great to see you.
All right. Thank you, Tanya.
Really quickly, I want to let everybody know that Felicia and I would love to know what you thought about today's interview, today's show. Let us know if anything moved you, or if you have any questions about anything. Hit reply to the email that you got this interview link in, and I will be sure to pass those questions on to Felicia. And as always, thank you so much for being here on The Empowered Woman, the place to come to challenge your fears, to powerfully live the life that you want, and to become the highly influential woman that you were born to be. So thank you so much, and have a great day. Bye. Thank you so much, Felicia.